Welcome back to another episode of Right Here in Mass. Joining me today is Crystal Robinson, a national board certified health and wellness coach, Chopra certified total well-being coach, and author of Mission Me 2.0, The Science and Soul of Coming Back to You. After a successful career as a vice president of engineering, she experienced a series of health crises, including a brain tumor that led her to radically transform her life and work. Today, she supports high achieving professionals in addressing stress and burnout through mind body spirit alignment. Her coaching and speaking engagements empower her to reconnect their purpose, reclaim their energy, and thrive in every area of life. Crystal, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, Ashley. I'm super excited.
Yeah, I'm excited to have you here. I know I just gave an overview of who you are and what you do, but that's where I'd love to start off with our interview today, is having you share more about yourself and your business with our listeners.
More about myself. There's so much. And you can get more and more of that in my book, which is just published a few months ago. It's been a labor of love. There's all kinds of stories of me and my trials and tribulations throughout my life, and about the journey of why I do what I do now. I do come from 34 years in engineering, climbing the corporate ladder, doing all the things that everybody expects you to do. The wife, the mother, the career woman, having the right house, having the right car, doing all the right things. And unfortunately, all of that led to so much stress that it all came out in all kinds of illnesses in my body. The body truly does keep the score. And for me, that's how it manifested. One thing after another, I had to deal with, and including lupus. I had to figure out a way to heal that and not go completely with total Western medicine because it wasn't helping, it was making things worse. Those were the things that led me into kind of the holistic healing where I do now. The brain tumor was like the final shove over the fence to just like, what are you doing with your life? Because nothing is really as life altering as a life altering event like that. And I realized that I was living my life for everyone else and not for myself. And when I realized that what I had learned and gone through what I had went through to be a coach to help others, it just completely transformed the way I took my life, the way I went
Mhm.
forward with everything. Purpose really does change you. And that's what I help other people with, dealing with their stress, dealing with their wants, needs, and desires, figuring out what's best for them, health wise, mindset wise, spiritually wise. It's all three connected. And when you leave one out, problems arise. And maybe it comes out in your body like me, maybe it comes out in your relationships, maybe it comes out in your career, or maybe it comes out in addiction. And those are
Mhm.
all things I help people with, whether it's one-on-one coaching, group coaching, or even facilitating groups at different corporations and places of recovery.
Mhm. Yeah, and you mentioned a good point that I want to dive into further, which is the fact that these challenges or issues can manifest in so many different ways. And I've always felt like what you go through personally always affects you professionally, and vice versa. What you go through professionally can always affect you personally. And I think you really alluded to that, and making sure and kind of reminding us that we all really need to address these things head on as we notice this before they turn into something much bigger.
Yeah, and that's my purpose, to help people not get a brain tumor. Like, how do I do that? How do I help people notice now they need support? Notice they need to like start making changes and really aligning their life to what they want as opposed to what they think everybody else thinks they want. I,
Yeah.
doing that corporate grind every day and dealing with a very toxic work environment. I was a woman in a very male-dominated field for a very long time. Luckily, there's a lot more women in the field now, but when I started in the 90s, there wasn't.
Mhm.
And it was a lot of toxicity and a lot of sexual harassment to deal with. And that just festers and just becomes other things. And we just feel like we have to plug through.
Yeah.
And then it comes out in our family relationships, our, spousal relationships, or, our close relationships, and in our health.
Yeah, absolutely. And so in addition to like kind of the physical ailments that might manifest or come about when someone is kind of reaching that tipping point? What other things might they notice? I don't want to say symptoms, but just other I guess things that they might notice or might come up that makes them think that it might be time for a change and a little signal that it might be time to do things differently.
Stuck, stagnant, feeling like they're running in Groundhog Day, that they're going through the motions. Like, are you waking up happy? Are you going to bed happy? Are you actually smiling during the day? Do you actually look forward to what's going to happen in your daily life? Are you living or are you just surviving?
Hmm.
I think that's like the biggest, right? And most of us, we're taught to be strong, right? To just push through everything that's thrown at us. But when we're doing that, we're literally just surviving. We're not thriving.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a really good point. And it makes me wonder too. I mean, because I've been guilty of this before, but I feel like sometimes when that thought comes up where you're like, I'm not happy. I need to do something differently. I think people can be more hesitant to change because they say they don't have the time or they have other things they need to prioritize, or there's just all these other excuses or reasons that can prevent someone from making the changes that they do need to change. And so, what's your advice around that of just making sure that it is a priority and that you do take it seriously before it turns into something much bigger and potentially much more harmful?
You don't have time. You don't know what tomorrow will bring.
Hmm.
That is the number one thing that I learned, right? I went through so many health challenges that like took me down a rabbit hole of despair. I lost people very close to me in accidents out of nowhere, right? And then I was, in a life-threatening situation with a very large brain tumor in my brain and had to go through brain surgery. Like I might not have woken up from that. I might not have been able to talk coming out of that. Like you don't have time. Do you want to continue living the way you're living? Are you happy, healthy, and fulfilled? If any of those things aren't there, you're not living.
Hmm. Yeah. And I think that's really important to remember. I mean, we don't have as much time as we think we do. So it's like if we say, oh, I'll find time tomorrow or next week or next year, you never know. And even then, like circumstances and priorities could change too.
Yeah. And that it's true because I did the same thing for so long, right? Just plug through. Oh, this is just another thing I have to deal with, right? We all do that. This is just another thing I have to do. And and we don't realize that we're just doing it because we think we're supposed to.
Hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
How are we conditioned? How are those layers put on us over the years from the time we're babies until we're adults and then we're living a life that's not even ours,
Hmm.
right? And people say, well, you know, it's we're making decisions because we don't have a choice. Well, no, you have a choice with everything you do. And yes, circumstances adjust how you make those choices. But you can actually go back and change which choice you want to make next.
Yeah. And on the topic of change, what would you say for someone who has that feeling where they're like, I know something isn't right. I know I need to do something differently, but I don't actually know what it is that I need to change. Like they just have this feeling, but they can't quite identify what isn't quite right in their life. Do you have any advice on how they can, I guess, understand what that might be, or I guess kind of get to the root cause to know what's giving them that feeling?
Get support. That's why I exist. That's why people like me exist. Coaches that help you identify what it is that you want, what it is that you need, and help you find the ways that you are going to get there. Right? I started, my journey listening to podcasts with healers and different people who were questioning different ways of, working on our mind and working on our body. And I really was doing all of those things first. The nutrition, the working out, like I'm going to take care of my body. If I keep getting sick, there's got to be a better way. But then I wasn't doing the mindset work. And one thing after another came on. I looked completely healthy. I was strong, yet I was so sick. I was dealing with autoimmune conditions, swelling, all kinds of things. And people look at me and say, you're not sick. And they didn't know that I was in despair and barely making it through. And the connection is you need to do the mindset work. You need to actually stop questioning yourself. You need to do the spiritual work. I wasn't a spiritual person at all. I was pushed away from religion and, didn't want to do it when as a young person. And religion was scary to me. Well, that's not spirituality.
Hmm.
Spirituality is actually connecting with yourself and the universe around you, right? And that was something that was so woo-woo to me. Growing up
Hmm.
as, in a family that didn't think that was okay, and being an engineer, it was all science. And if it wasn't proven and solid, then it wasn't true. Well, when I started opening up myself to those things that didn't look solid, I realized I was missing a whole space that I
Hmm.
needed. I had to come back to me. That's why my book says it's coming back to you. It's
Hmm.
really coming back inside yourself and learning how to listen to that intuition, to what's going on there, so that you can find those changes. And most of us, our minds won't let us do that because of the conditioning, which is why having support, whether it's a therapist or a coach or somebody like that, helps you pull that out of you.
Hmm. Yeah, absolutely. I want to go deeper into that spiritual piece that you mentioned because for anyone who's listening to this episode who may now be like what you were back then, like having no idea of any sense of spirituality, it might be hard for them to understand any of those concepts or what that might look like. So, could you give an overview of the types of spiritual work that you're referring to, whether it's modalities or any type of methods that you've really explored that have worked well?
For me, meditation,
Hmm.
huge. That was a huge stepping stone for me, I guess you could say. It really helped me bridge that gap between doing the mindset work, doing, you could do all the mantras, you can like have all the affirmations, you can think that your mindset is always positive, but that doesn't do it all. And you can do all the nutrition and the working out and doing the body. But the spiritual piece is literally like coming into you, and meditation does that. And it doesn't have to be, sitting cross-legged with your hands out and your eyes closed and on a cushion or silent. That meditation can also you be walking through the forest,
Yeah.
right? Without earbuds in,
Hmm.
right? Connecting with nature. Meditation can happen in so many different ways. And the way I teach it is what works for you, right? I give you different ways of going about that. That was one of my huge spiritual pieces. And once I did that, I was really starting to listen to my intuition, really starting to connect in with what was happening with me. And then after the brain tumor and that recovery, I realized that I was also a medium. I had all of this stuff coming in, and I thought I was crazy. I literally thought I was crazy until I actually started speaking about it to people,
Yeah.
and they'd be like, "How did you know that?" It was crazy. And until I really started like looking into that and diving into that deeper, because I'm like, okay, I'm not crazy. I need to understand this. I realized it was just part of me I had suppressed for so long. I
Hmm.
looked back and noticed that there was pieces of that in my childhood and my younger life that I was just like, oh no, 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 just shoving it away. People said, "Oh, you're so creative," and it was, "Oh, isn't she insightful?" Like it wasn't she was crazy, but they were kind of saying it that way.
Hmm.
And now I just embrace it, and it's just part of me. And we all have that intuition inside of us. That's the spiritual piece. That's like coming into yourself. It can be how you're connected to universe. It can be how you're connected to a higher power. It could be a God, whichever you want to call that, right?
Hmm.
There's a reason that people connect when it comes to spirituality with religion, right? But some of us, maybe we've been brought up where, religion is not a good thing because pretty much all religion causes war, right? And because people can't agree. Well, spirituality is coming into you. It's not judging anybody else. It's knowing what's important to you and living with that, living
Hmm.
in that.
Yeah, there's a few really good things you mentioned there that I want to emphasize, with one being that any type of spiritual work can be a low lift. Like, I think people sometimes assume that they need to go all in and go to the extreme and make it some big thing. But to your point, meditation can be as simple as going for a walk in the woods with no cell phone, maybe a cell phone just for safety, but no headphones, and just having that time to yourself. It's not forcing yourself to sit in silence for an hour and get discouraged if thoughts bounce into your brain when you're trying to keep them out. And then also to your point too about the fact that once you did that inner work, like it almost opened a portal, it sounds like, and kind of opened you up to other things that you could experience. And I think that's a really important thing too, is that kind of once you like dip your toes in the water, it makes it so much easier for you to expand your horizons and then be opened up to so much more.
Yeah, you totally do. You dip your toes in the water, then maybe your leg, right? And then you're like, oh, I'm just jumping in. Just jump in, right? And that's what I did. I jumped in. I worked with a holistic nutrition person to help me, and I studied with him and got certified through him. He's also based in Massachusetts and has a book and a documentary. Um, and then I got into like the energy healing and the energy work and realized I had been doing it myself all along and I just hadn't gone through like a structured training or certification. So then I
Mm-hmm.
added that on. And then when I did the Chopra coaching work, I knew I was already coaching, but I was so driven to that because he also bridges the science and the woo. It's all about that. That's what Deepak Chopra does. And so his coaching is all about putting in that mind body spirit connection, that spirituality, the meditation, the grounding, the Ayurveda, like eating properly and like taking care of you the way that
Mm-hmm.
you need to be taken care of because you're an individual. Nobody's DNA is the same.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And I really want to go into the intersection of the mind, body, spirit that you shared here, because as you know, like when you're not pouring enough into one side, it negatively pours over into the other. So could you talk more about like that intersection for anyone who might not be totally familiar with it yet?
Oh, I'm just going to tell a story because I'm about
Yeah,
stories,
go for
right?
it.
I tell stories, right? And no matter how long I've been doing the work, now I've written a book, now this is what I teach and preach and all, we still have our own stuff.
Hmm.
So I'm currently actually not in Massachusetts. I'm in California on a business trip. And when we were at the airport, I had trouble with my luggage and tried to take it on the escalator. And it was on the step as the escalator went up. And the weight of it fell on top of me, pushed
Ooh.
me down. I fell on the metal escalator stairs with the luggage on top of me, was freaking out inside because here I am on an escalator. Is my sweater going to
Yeah.
get caught? What's going to happen? I'm stuck under the luggage. Crawled down a couple of steps, managed to get up. My husband was able to pull my luggage up. He was above me and not behind me, and got off, and then literally stood against the wall and went into myself
Hmm.
because I knew I was like, ah,
Yeah.
I was what I call the windsock guy, like you see at like car
Yeah.
dealerships, right? And I was just like, nope, let's go back to those practices. Let's breathe. You're okay. You're safe. You got through that. You're gonna have a few bruises. Maybe your ankle's a little swollen. Taking a body scan, connecting into myself, realizing, and then as the day went on, like both my husband and I were both like snippy snappy at each other because we were both a little freaked out and scared
Yeah.
about the whole thing. And it was really going back and noticing, okay, no, it could have been so much worse. And we could have dealt with it so much worse. But it's also another learning experience to understand we were both scared, so we were both snippy. So now we have to realize that, okay, we're just going to breathe. We're just going to pull back and learn more. And everything we do in our life is a learning experience,
Hmm.
right? And that's what I take it as, right? Even this podcast, sitting here, I could have been nervous before I got on, right? You could have been nervous before you get on. But knowing that like we're just two people having a conversation and whatever happens, we're going to learn from it.
Yep.
I like to approach life kind of curious that way now, whereas before it had to be structured.
Hmm.
And now I'm not as structured. It's funny because people ask me, like, What are your plans for next month? I'm like, I don't know yet.
Yeah.
I'm just winging it.
Yeah. And what a really good story to kind of like share the power of just, like you said, going inward, just taking a moment to breathe, and then almost like it sounds like recentering yourself in a way, and collecting yourself before moving forward. And that reminds me of something my mom used to say. She always used to say about things whenever I'd get like annoyed or frustrated or upset, she'd say, let it go. And I feel like that kind of like closely relates to that, is just like letting it go and not letting it impact you and affect the rest of your day from there.
Yeah, and so many people, when you tell them let it go, they're like, how? I don't know how.
Yeah.
Like, what do I do? And literally, that's what I
Yes.
tell people. Go back in. Go into you. Do you need to hold this?
Yeah.
How is that serving you? Is that benefiting you to hold on to this? What is it costing you to hold on to this?
Hmm.
Is the cost outweighing the benefit?
Yeah. Yeah. That's a really
Right? We
good
all make
point.
these pros and con lists. It's the same thing.
Hmm.
If the cost is outweighing the benefit, you can ditch it.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's a really good point. Is I think we almost sometimes need to like check ourselves, like take a moment, check ourselves, and be like, am I holding on to this for absolutely no reason, or is this value in this? And I feel like probably more often than not, it's something that you really don't need to hold on to, and it isn't going to affect you.
Yeah, and we do that same process with things,
Yep.
right? And this is why people like become hoarders or they realize they have too much stuff. And I am just as guilty of it, right? We all do it. We collect stuff and we think there's so much meaning in them, and it's just stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. Just got to
And I
let it
think
go.
it's just a process, right? You're going through like, what do you need to hold on to physically? What do you need to hold on mentally, right? What do you need to hold on to spiritually?
Hmm. Totally. And now I would love to hear about your book that I know is inspired by a lot of what you went through personally, but I'd love to hear what was that moment that made you realize, like, I need to write a book about this.
It's funny, there's so much connected to the book. And people had told me over and over, you need to write a book as it was going through all of these different things in my life and persevering, right?
Hmm.
Actually, surviving and then thriving each time something was going through. And I was like, yeah, maybe, and then I would think about it. And then when I got into the coaching and I started really like applying and working with others, I realized, okay, yeah, maybe this can help other people. I wish I had it. I've read so many books, connected with so many healers through their work, either written or on podcasts, and I can help people with my story. Somebody had reached out to me in an anthology and asked me to write a chapter in that anthology. It's called The Change: Insights into Self-Empowerment. And that was my beginning in writing. And that was kind of the fire under my butt to get it done.
Hmm.
So I wrote that and I wrote way more than I should have and had to cut it way down. And I was like, okay, yeah, I definitely have a book. And so I wrote a outline based on my 8 elements of wellness, which is what I work with clients on. And in the middle of the night, I woke up with a whole nother outline, which is Mission Me 2.0.
Hmm.
And I realized this is coming first. The 8 elements can come later. That's more for the general public. The Mission Me 2.0 is for those who are interested in doing the work, right? This is actually like my coaching process in a book. It's my personal story, the science behind it, and how that's connected to research and how your mind works, your body works, and the spiritual context. So it's the mind, body, spirit context of what's
Hmm.
happening in my story and how you can relate it in your life and how that story might connect to something in you. And then it's actually action steps, workbooks in the book. I've been told that the book is an experience. It's a luxury experience in care because that's basically what it is. Through the book, there is all kinds of spaces. I don't know if you can see because of the brightness to write and reflect. Um, and it's not meant for you to just like sit and read the whole thing.
Hmm.
It's meant for you to take it at your pace. Maybe you'll do one chapter and then put it down for a little while because it was heavy. Maybe you'll pick it up and breeze through a couple more and be like, okay, yeah, that was helpful. And then maybe you'll get to another one and be like, oh, this one's harder for me to get through. And that's what it's meant for. It's meant for you to do it at your pace and see how it helps you.
Hmm.
but it's full of my own trials and tribulations, stories like the escalator. Like there's so many of them, and this is only 12 chapters of them. So, we have so many stories in our lives and how we can learn from them and connect the science and the woo together to make it helpful is kind of how that was born for me.
Totally. Yeah. And I would love to hear about your writing process because I think it's so interesting that you just got that. I call them like downloads sometimes, but you got that download in the middle of the night and you're like, this is the outline in the story that I need to follow. How did you balance like writing a book and then also supporting clients and having that I guess dedication to both? Like I think it's so impressive that you were able to tackle such a really important but a big lift of a project while also continuing to show up in your business each day.
For me, it was a labor of love, right? It was something I needed to get out there. I wanted it to help my clients. I wanted it to help the masses that I couldn't reach, right? How many people can I reach? Right? How
Hmm.
can I spread my message and help? I want to help the world, right? And this is what we kind of get into when we find our purpose. We're like, I want to help everyone. And the book was the easiest way for me to do that. I actually breezed through writing it in like 3.5 months. But having a publisher that keeps you like on track is helpful with that. But like once I started writing, it just kind of flowed. Luckily, I
Hmm.
had a good structure. I had that structure that I wanted in my brain, and I put that in my outline, and that's kind of how I kept going forward. Never thought I would be a writer. Never even explored it. Like I was always a math and science kid. Not that I didn't love to read. I loved to read. I was okay in English, but I wasn't like the English kid. And there's three more books in me. Like I said, that other outline's still sitting there, and I haven't done it. There's also a novel in there that I want to write. So there's so much more, and I've gotten some great feedback on this. Um, and and the forward by Marissa is just amazing. Marissa Zapiri is a TEDx speaker and the founder of the Lupus Chick Foundation. And I connected with her years ago when I was dealing with lupus. And writing this book and then sending her pieces of it and having her grace it with her forward was just a whole full circle moment for me because she helped me get through the lupus and what I was dealing with there. Um, and so it's a loving kindness kind of all mixed in one.
Yeah, I love it. With the book now, something that you've completed, which one must have been like such an amazing feeling to be like, holy crap, this thing is like out in the world and on the shelves.
Yes.
What would you say is next for you in the next year?
Um, Getting it on as many shelves as I can,
Yeah.
getting it in people's hands, um, writing the next one. I do want to get
Hmm.
back into that writing, but promoting this one is more important right now. Um, and just in continuing to support my clients and my group programs and as much as I can do there.
Hmm.
I do facilitate groups at a East Coast Recovery Center in Cohasset a couple of days a week. I do some holistic group coaching there. I do one-on-one with people either via Zoom or in person in my office in Pembroke. So those are the most important things for me, how I can help people.
Hmm. I love it. And so, say someone is listening to this episode and they're like, okay, Crystal has convinced me I need to go inward and focus on my mind, body, spirit alignment. But they're like, I just don't even know where to begin. What advice would you have for them for getting started and embarking on that journey?
Reach out to me. I give a free clarity session, 50 minutes, just you. We go through my 8 elements with you, and it helps you create kind of your framework. And then whether you decide to work with me from there on is up to you. Does it give you enough that you know you need support? You can also get my book.
Amazing. And a fun question that I always love to ask our guests is what their favorite local businesses are to support. So I'm curious to hear what yours might be.
Oh, so many. Right now, I'm getting involved with the nonprofit Dama Dreams Vocational Center that's opening in
Mhm.
January in Hanover. I love East Coast Recovery Center and what they do for people that are, battling addiction. Um, I love the Town Tavern and Treehouse restaurant in Pembroke. It's right
Yes.
across the lake from me. I live on that lake, and I go there all the time. And they're really great about accommodating my allergies where a lot of places aren't. What are my other favorite places? There's so many. I'm
I know
connected
it's
with
hard to
so
pick a
many
few.
businesses, right? Through the Chamber of Commerce and all of that. So if you're looking for recommendations, reach out.
I love it. Crystal, this has been such a fun episode, and I've so enjoyed having you on the show to share everything that you've done in your work. And I'd love to have you share with our listeners where they can find you online in case they'd like to connect.
Yes, they can definitely find me online. I'm on Facebook, I'm on LinkedIn, I'm on Instagram under my name, Crystal Robinson, on Facebook as a personal page. But you can also find my business, which is Crystal Moon Holistic Healing, on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. I'm under my own name, Crystal Robinson. And my website is www.crystalmoonholistichealing.com.
Perfect. And I'll include all those links in the show notes so that our listeners can easily find you from there. Thank you so much again for coming on this week's episode.
Thank you, Ashley.